don't know if you guys saw this. This was trending, I think, like a day ago. It might have been yesterday. Might have been over the weekend, this past weekend. But the Snyder Bros, the Snyder cult, the Zack Snyder fans, they're up to it again. They're trying to destroy the DCEU, or just trying to scream as loud as they possibly can so they can be heard. But I saw this tweet trending. It was trending so much, it was picked up by so many people that it actually got James Gunn's attention. But I wanted to show you guys this and just kind of talk about Superman in general, because I'm very much looking forward to Superman. Everything I've been seeing from the movie looks really cool. Looks like we're getting that, very kind, very morally righteous Superman again, which I feel like we haven't gotten in a theatrical Superman movie in quite some time. But I saw this this tweet, and it's just kind of crazy to me, where you have the Snyder Cut, the official, I guess, Reddit organization for the Snyder fan, stand up and fight for the Snyderverse on July 11th, which is the release of Superman. Fight for our Snyderverse on the imposter Superman release day. Here's what we can do to make a difference. All right, just come together and do these three things, chap. Post spoilers everywhere. People are less likely to see or enjoy the movie if it's already spoiled. Number 2, leave bad rating on review sites. We know for sure gunbots will post fake positive reviews, so we must let people know the truth. But that's not the truth. That's not the truth at all, because you're posting bad ratings on having seen the movie. Anyway, the truth is what you make it. So we must let people know the truth and balance the bias out with realistic scores by posting bad ratings. I love they contradict themselves like immediately. Number 3, reserve tickets online, but don't complete the purchase. By selecting and reserving tickets, it gets taken out of the pool for a period of time, which means this has a chance of stopping gunbots from buying tickets. Gunn fired the first shot and killed the Snyderverse. And he actually didn't. It was Warner Brothers. They killed it because it just wasn't very successful. And here's our chance to take the fight back to him. And James Gunn responded to this because people were like, what are your thoughts on this, James Gunn? He says, low, I think we'll survive. I'm not sure the 8 people that listen to that guy, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess it's a guy, and are going to impact the course of events. I mean, it's pretty just ridiculous. I mean, listen, you guys know, I was not the biggest fan of the Snyderverse. I thought that a lot of those movies, speaking of Man of Steel, had significant issues. I mean, I really think Man of Steel was built on a foundation of quicksand. Not to say everything in the movie was bad. There's some things I can point to, like, oh, this was pretty good. I liked that. I liked the first fight sequence in the film. Thought it was handled very well. But so much of that movie, to me, was flawed. And his presentation of Superman I thought was very frustrating. It's kind of like the antithesis of Superman, in my opinion. And it just led to, like, all these projects that felt so rushed, whether it be Suicide Squad, the original one by David Ayer, or Batman v Superman, which was a whole mess. It just felt like the DCU never got a chance because you had in my opinion, a very flawed vision from the start, and you just had all these other different creatives coming in trying to put their own spin on things, and it just ended up being a mess. Not to say that there aren't good movies in the DCEU, of course. Like, I really enjoyed the first Wonder Woman. I like Shazam a lot. The Suicide Squad by James Gunn was great. Peacemaker was great, obviously. There's certainly films, during that era that I enjoyed. But for the most part, it was just a complete mess. And you're going to have the Snyder fans. They're going to want that, wish that to come back. And for many years, apparently, to come. But, we're finally entering a new era of DC films. And that, I think, is super exciting. We saw a little bit of that with Creature Commandos, which is very much a spiritual successor, an animated spiritual successor, something like the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. And I really enjoyed that. But, our first, I think, true theatrical entry, our first theatrical entry into this new universe will be Superman. And there's some things I can definitely criticize about Gunn. I actually will do so in just a bit, but there's a lot I'm actually really looking forward to. And I feel like James Gunn is the right person to lead this new era of DC films. There's specifically like 5 things that like immediately come to mind for me that makes James Gunn the best person. I want to hear from you guys too, as well. If you think is these things as well. I'd love to hear your feedback, but I feel like Gunn does a great job of balancing heart and humor in a lot of his movies for the most part. He's proven, especially like with Guardians of the Galaxy and obviously most recently the Suicide Squad, that he knows how to mix emotion, heart, humor without, I feel like, undercutting a lot of the stakes. I think Superman, it just requires a filmmaker who can portray the character with sincerity, with optimism, but at the same time, layering in a little bit of that humor, that lighthearted nature, and embracing the tone of that sincerity and optimism without mocking it, without like throwing it away. I think that was one of the big issues with the Snyder take on Superman, with Man of Steel. It seemed to resent the idea of sincerity and optimism and kindness, which are kind of like the foundational elements of Superman as a character. And I feel like Gunn, in all of his statements, has said that. Like he literally describes his Superman movie as, or his character of Superman, of Clark Kent, as a man who believes in kindness in a world that thinks kindness is antiquated. I feel like that right there just sells me on it. Additionally, I think he also like really respects the legacy of the character, while also kind of innovating on it as well. Gunn knows how to, I feel like, stay true to the character's roots, while also refreshing it for like a modern audience. With Superman, I feel like he's aiming to bring back the sense of moral clarity. The characters always showcase the idealism of those Superman stories, of things like All-Star Superman, which I think by Grant Morrison's an excellent book, which focuses on the foundational elements of Superman as a character, while also building just a really layered human side of the character, and through his other supporting characters. Like I think we're seeing hints of that. I love the fact that Lois Lane already knows Superman's secret identity. They're already a couple at this point. They're living together. Some of those scenes, they're very affectionate. They're hugging, they're kissing, they're smooching, and probably stupping too, chat. Good for Lois Lane. Good for Clark. I think that's great. I'm also hoping we're going to see more. We haven't really seen the trailers, but I hope Jimmy Olsen plays an integral role to that. We see like a friend. I think that was the other thing that was missing from the Man of Steel, Henry Cavill Superman. It's like he didn't really have any friends in those movies. Like, who is his friend in this film? He's mostly like alone, occasionally interacting with Amy Adams, Lois Lane, or Martha Kent on the farm. Like, he doesn't have any friends in those movies, right? Even when he joins the Justice League, it's like, are they friends? I don't feel like that. So I want that. And again, that's more optimistic Superman. I want to see his relationships, and also want to see an antagonistic relationship that he has with Lex Luthor. I want them to go at it. Who have these very different views of what is best for humanity. I think that's going to be really interesting too to explore. So again, like respecting the character's legacy, his pantheon of supporting characters, and which showcase the best aspects of Superman. And, the other thing that I think like makes James Gunn like perfect for this is just he has a proven track record with ensemble casts, and world building. From Guardians of the Galaxy to The Suicide Squad to Peacemaker, Gunn does a great job of juggling multiple characters. I know a lot of people are actually concerned that there's too many characters in this movie. And I think that is a justifiable concern. I understand that, but I just look back at the past and like how he's handled like these huge fucking casts, and he's done a great job so far, for the last decade. And also like connecting all these standalone stories into like a central narrative, and giving all these characters something to do, like making sure that like no one feels neglected. They all have a point to being there, having their own mini arcs. I think that's a good thing. I think that's also what the DCU needs. Someone who can certainly oversee the long game of things, whatever we're building to, which you don't necessarily know what that is, but while making each individual character shine on their own, making you enjoy them, like them, or dislike them, which is necessary. Love to hate, if you will, like in the case of hopefully Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor. And the other thing I think he does a really good job at is he elevates underdog characters. I think Superman needs that now. Superman, I think, in the modern era of films, both in the 2000s, so Superman Returns, and again with the Snyderverse of it all, it struggled, I think, like in the case of Superman Returns, audiences found him too bland. And in the case of Man of Steel and those movies, a lot of people found him too brooding. And I think Gunn is great. He's famous for making us care about characters we didn't think we would care about. I point to Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, he made us care about a talking raccoon named Rocket Raccoon. He made us care about a tree man who only says, I am Groot, for the most part. You know? All the losers, all these D-list, Z-list characters in the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, Bloodshot, Ratcatcher 2, not even the first Ratcatcher, Ratcatcher 2, King Shark, you know, Polka Dot Man. He made me emotional over Polka Dot Man. And then into Peacemaker and that whole team. I love that. You know, I think he's the right person to make Superman feel fresh, inspiring, and essential again. Like, you know, when you think of superheroes, I think Superman is the one you think of. And I think he'll do a great job of bringing back the aspects of the character that have defined him for decades, but also proving that those things are still very relevant. And I think a lot of people yearn for them too. I think it's the right choice. I think the last thing point I want to make about why it's cool to have James Gunn leading this project in the DC is just like, I feel like he's not trying to be Marvel. I think he recently made some statements about Marvel and how he's maybe taking some shots too, saying like Marvel, I feel like kind of spurned a lot of people. They greenlit a lot of projects, you know, that have not done well, even if the movies themselves might be good. Something like Thunderbolts, like they're just not performing all that well with audiences just not going to see them. But I like that it's great that he just has an essentially a clean slate to work with. Some carryovers from some of the movies he did with the DCEU, you know, some of the Suicide Squad aspects, you know, Amanda Waller, Peacemaker, as I mentioned. But I like that, like his first chapter, which he's called like Gods and Monsters. It's like we're going to be doing recognizable characters that we all know. You know, Superman, Supergirl, announced a Wonder Woman movie is in some form of production. They're writing a script. Batman, possibly, obviously. But then you have some more obscure things like the Clayface movie. Funny enough, I feel like I remember they've casted a relatively unknown actor to play Clayface in that Mike Flanagan film. And I'm really excited about that. I think that's great. They're going to be making a Swamp Thing movie. I think that's cool as well. So we're going to get not only just, you know, your typical superhero fare. You know, you're not only going to get the triumvirate of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but you're going to get more obscure stuff. You're going to get a horror film with a body horror film with a DC villain like Clayface, or a supernatural horror movie, which also has body horror aspects like Swamp Thing. I think that's really cool. He's not exactly following the Marvel formula, but at the same time, he's like doing a variety of different projects to keep it feeling fresh. You know, he's doing something I think a little new, a little daring, but Superman is leading the charge. I think that's good. Like, honestly, outside of all the positive things, like there's some things I'm a little concerned about when it comes to James Gunn and also Peter Safran. You know, he's part of it too. And then leading DC Studios. And essentially my two big concerns is the future of Batman. Specifically the future of the Batman. Emphasis on the. Which, of course, was directed by Matt Reeves and was such a great movie. Love Robert Pattinson as that character. Again, giving us that dark, gritty detective Batman that I feel like a lot of us have yearned for theatrically for years. Now, obviously, getting that version of the character and things like Batman animated series, obviously. But never truly on the big screen, live action-wise, that is. And I love that universe. I've been saying, like, fuck it, just kind of make Robert Pattinson the DCU Batman if he wants it. You know, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But I think that would be a natural fit because some people, I like that version of the character now. You already had a huge success with the Penguin. Like, why would you want to just kind of dismantle that, have that go nowhere? You know, either incorporate it or just have it as its own side thing and keep making content like that. It's like, hey, maybe you're not digging maybe the James Gunn stuff, but hey, this is another DC offering where maybe it's a little darker, it's a little more grittier. I think that'd be really cool. And not like edgy in the Snyderverse way. But the other thing I'm also concerned about is what if they do a DCU Batman, like what is that Batman going to be? You know, he's come out and I think he said in his interview, I think with Rolling Stones, he said, like, I don't want to do like a goofy, campy Batman, which I'm like, I agree. I don't want that either. But the one thing that has concerned me is that he wants it to be a Batman Robin movie, and I love Robin. Believe me, I love Dick Grayson. I love Dick. I love Dick Grayson. I love Jason Todd. I love Tim Drake. I'll take a fucking Stephanie Brown. I'll take a Carrie Kelly. I have no problem with those. But he wants to do Damian Wayne, who I'm just not a fan of. I know Damian Wayne has his fans. He's kind of been the Robin for the last few years, but I've just never really understood the character. Especially him being murderous and killing people and Batman's being okay. It just doesn't make any sense. I just don't like that relationship. I hate how if you want to do a darker story with a Robin that goes off the rails, I would point to Jason Todd. And you can lead into like Red Hood and do that one day. I think that'd be awesome. Damian Wayne, he just feels like he just takes over stories. It always becomes about him. I'm personally not a fan of that. Like, that's my one big concern with James Gunn taking over DC. I don't necessarily agree with his take on Batman, but we don't even know if that's going to happen. It's the one thing I'm a little concerned about. But everything else, I think is good. I think he's the right man for the job. He seems to know what he's doing with Superman, but we'll find out together. But what about you guys? What do you think? What do you think of this crazy the Snyderverse trying to ruin the movie for everyone, which I don't think it's going to work. And also, just like, what's your anticipation for Superman? What do you think about James Gunn, like, leading DC and directing and writing this film? Are you liking it? Are you disliking it? Let me know.
5 minutes later.
Days like this, I hate the internet, yeah, it can be used for great evil. Yeah, the general audience kills Snyderverse, yeah. Tommy says, I can't wait for Superman to make millions. I think that's a good shot. I think it's a very good shot, despite all these fucking losers off. I saw one comment on a site that was talking about this that said, and I quote, man, I love the Snyderverse, and I fought for the Snyder Cut, but this is just getting embarrassing. Let it go, guys. So, yeah, exactly. Zack Snyder is too grim dark. I feel like Snyder would work better with an Image comic property. Yeah, I mean, it's like he just seems to be honest, like in such a bad place in his career right now, because like Army of the Dead was going to be this whole big, cinematic zombie universe, and that's gone. And then Rebel Moon was going to be, he planned for 6 entries and was going to get a comic book and was going to get a video game, and all that's gone now. So I don't know what he's got. I think he's making a UFC movie, I don't even know what he's doing. But yeah, in terms of his sensibilities, and I don't think I would even want to wish this on fans of this character, but like Spawn, maybe? Maybe like Spawn is more his wheelhouse, but it's like, I'm not the biggest Spawn fan. But I would like Spawn fans to get a good movie, though, even though I'm not enthused about the character. I don't want the character to get a bad movie. I don't think he'd do a very good job. But that would be more his wheelhouse, I suppose. I've said people care so much about Snyder, it's just say, yeah. Also, having someone on my friend list for Zack Snyder is Lord Snyder. I'm not surprised they're being like this, yeah. Yeah, Snyder Man is a loner of no pals. Isolation, depression, stand culture, no self-identity, and social media, the 4 combined are a nasty. Yeah, that's a good point, Bishop Sycamore. Isolation, depression, stand culture, and no self-identity. That's really true. And social media. You're right. That's a cocktail of sadness. Good point. Very good point. One thing that annoys me so far is the Guy Gardner's goofy haircut. And I think it's supposed to, though. I would argue, because that's what the character looks like in the comic, and I think it's supposed to annoy you. And he's kind of like a douchebag. But we'll see. Lonely, but it's still a little too much. Yeah. Deadpool, I'm not worried about there being too many characters. Gunn made the Guardians movies and the Suicide Squad. I'm only concerned that there's being too much comic stuff too quickly. That's fair. Again, I think that's a very reasonable critique. A concern, I should say. Concern. Bloodsport, Bloodshot. Was that the Vinny DC? Oh, did I say Bloodshot? Whoops. Whoops. Yeah, that one. Deadpool, Gunn is right. Disney, Marvel, Rush movies and shows and production hurt the MCU. But yeah, it really did. Like post Endgame, it's like, yeah, they did too many of these TV shows. And just, yeah, it's been a mess. Some good stuff, but it's been a mess. Oh man, Superman 2, Superman World's Fine. Yeah, I wondered, because he said like, yes, Superman will appear in another big project, but it won't necessarily be like just a Superman movie. And that would be cool though if they want to do World's Finest. It'd be so weird because it'd be similar to Batman. It'd be similar, but not similar to Batman v Superman. I feel like, again, I've gone back to this, and they seem to like really be looking at the DCEU, the DC Animated Universe, which you guys know I love. Because apparently, like Mike Flanagan says, his biggest source of inspiration for the Clayface film is Feet of Clay Part 1 and Part 2, which is from Batman the Animated Series. which I think is great. Like Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor is kind of giving me vibes of the Lex Luthor from the animated series in terms of his personality and his ego and his narcissism, stuff like that. And if they were to like essentially adapt or draw a lot of inspiration from the world's finest 3-part story in Superman the animated series, which brought Superman, Batman's world colliding into each other, that would be wonderful. I would love that. I would love that. That'd be so cool. You know, it's like they would have an initial conflict, but they'd be like, oh, no, we're essentially on the same side. We just have different ways of going about doing what we do. He's building a cinematic world. You want it to feel like a world. Ground rules that all movies are beholden to, but each feels like their own wing of the world. Yes. You love what? You know what I love. Damon Wayne, yeah. That's one thing I'm worried about. I just want a little shit to die. I think DCU Batman should be similar tone to the Batman animated series or mixed series. That would be, now if they want to do that, if James Gunn literally said what you just said, I'd be like, okay. I would be like, okay. And you bring in the supernatural sci-fi stuff, I would be like, all right, I'm okay with that. If he says, like, we want to do something very similar to Batman the animated series, have that similar tone, like, that's our Batman, I'd be like, okay. I'd be okay with that. You know? Garfield is staring into my soul. He does that. He really is. He's looking right into the camera. I'm so sorry. He wants to absorb your soul and your flesh and your meat. Space Wheat. Who would you pick to do the first Justice League movie in this universe? I mean, it's a good question. I mean, it's an easy answer, but probably James Gunn. I'm really interested to see where he's going to be in 10 years because it's unique where him and Peter Safran are essentially leading this cinematic universe, but James Gunn is also writing a lot of these movies, punching up probably a lot of these scripts, and directing some of them, right? And I don't think there's been anything like that before. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, maybe there is a case of that. I just don't know. So that makes it unique. But, like, the obvious choice for that, I feel like, would be James Gunn. But I don't know how busy he's going to be. Yeah. Fan of Spawns here. Go fuck yourself for saying. I'm sorry. I know. I don't want to wish that on you. I don't want to wish that on you. I don't want to do that. You know, I'm not the biggest Spawn fan, but I want you guys to get a good movie. I want a good Spawn movie. Oh, Toots. Oh, Harians. Good to see you. Hope you're doing very well. Welcome. He's probably going to be Supergirl too. I think so. I think he's definitely going to be Superman as well. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, again, I just, as I said, I love these characters. I love DC. I want to see them adapted well. And everything that at least I've been seeing for the most part, in regards to Superman, I really, really liked. It looks really cool. It looks like they understand. But we'll see. We'll see in the next couple of weeks. But I just wanted to bring this up because I thought that, like, that original tweet by that Snyder fan was very funny. And the fact that James Gunn even responded to it, I thought was also very, very funny. Let's see here. I think Gunn should lay the groundwork for the DCU and then maybe pull back to only handling Justice League movies. I think that's very reasonable. I think you're right. Yeah, because he won't be able to direct all of these films, obviously. Yeah. Is Lobo going to be in something too? Yeah, he's in Supergirl. There's been already some leaks, images of Supergirl interacting with Lobo. I may have looked at them. But yeah, and Jason Momoa is playing Lobo, which is actually perfect casting. It's like, oh yeah, he kind of already looks like Lobo. I mean, just paint his skin white. It's like, oh, there you go. Nailed it. I would have said the Russos, but after the recent tracker post-mortem, I'm like, no. Yeah, well, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with these Avengers films. Like, I hope they're good, but I have a lot of concerns about Doomsday, as I said. Like, and it's especially the Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom of it all. That's the one I'm like, I don't know about this. I'm not sure, so we'll see. But yeah, I think that's a very reasonable prediction and just take overall. Like after Superman, he establishes this, and all these other filmmakers, and then Gunn would direct the first Justice League movie years down the line, or maybe World's Finest. If we wait a few more times, like they're not going to do the Pattinson thing, then they establish their Batman. And then a few years we'll do World's Finest, etc. And then that leads to Justice League. I think that'd be cool. I would be all right with that. I'd be all right with that. Jason Momoa as Lobo. Okay, yeah, that works. It really does. It's like, oh, yeah. My man! Like, that makes sense for, like, not Aquaman to say that at all, but, like, yeah, Lobo's saying, of course he would. Brother. But Bugs definitely worries that if he's directing, producing, writing, everything, all the projects will start feeling the same. I wonder. But we know that he's not, for instance, like writing the Clayface movie. And that, I think, is going to have a very different tone. I don't think he's going to write everything. And he'll prove everything, obviously. And so I'm wondering, like, what the Batman movies. Like, I don't feel like I'll tell you this right now. The Batman movie should not feel like the Superman movie, right? Tonally, they should not feel the same, in my opinion. So when you combine Superman and Batman, it's this clash. Like, well, not like a physical clash, but that's interesting that when they interact with each other, because they are so fucking different. And despite their differences, and despite their different tones, when they interact with each other and they cross over each other's worlds, it's inherently interesting, you know. So, yeah, I'm hoping that like his Batman isn't like Superman. Roosters could work. They just need someone else to write the script and help produce. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I still have faith in the Roosters. You just got to lock in. I mean, because I don't want those. I mean, like I said, I'm not one of those like fuck Marvel, old DC. Like, I want them. First of all, I think it's great that if DC does start putting out banner after banner after banner of a film, then it'll fucking kick Marvel's ass in gear again. You know, it's not, again, Thunderbolts was great, but people just didn't go to see it, sadly. A lot of people didn't go to see it. And so maybe they'll be like, all right, we got to like lock in when it comes to quality. We just can't, greenlight any fucking project and just put it out there because we think people are going to go see it. Clearly, it's not the case. It's not the case anymore. And so they're going to now, I'm hopefully this will encourage them to do better. Right? That's what I want. I want to watch good movies. I'm more concerned by the fact that the Roosters are terrible filmmakers unless they have really good other stuff around them. Not just, they're not as good as they used to be. I think they're bad. Recently they have not been good. They have made great movies, though. They have made great movies. The Captain America films are awesome. The Avengers movies they made are awesome. They're really good movies. Like Captain America, The Winter Soldier is still probably my favorite MCU movie. I also love Civil War, and I love Infinity War, and I love Endgame. But yeah, their recent stuff has not been good at all. Like Electric State's terrible. One of the worst movies so far this year. I'm not ready to completely write them off at all. I'm not at that point. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. After these Avengers movies are bad, then it's like, fuck. Like, what happened? But that'll be different. That'd be different. So we'll find out. Looks at the Batman Superman animated series. Hell, that's what World's Fine. Well, exactly. That's what it should be. That's like that. Yes. yes. And I'm hoping that I think there are obviously some fans of that universe, and I think even James Gunn's brought up. He's brought up the DCEU in the past, and they're looking at that as literally just look at that as a template. Make the changes that you feel like are necessary you want to do, but that's a fucking excellent template to work off of, right? So just do that. I'm hoping that's what they do. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't remember who said this. Batman is the Dark Knight. Superman is Hope. Two sides of the same coin, but different. Exactly. Yeah. Because they're both essentially striving to do the same thing, but they have different methods of doing it, right? And they initially come into some sort of conflict with each other, more of not even a physical conflict. I never liked the idea of Batman and Superman fighting each other. I know that's always like, who would fucking win a fight, Batman or Superman? Well, Batman at prep time. Yeah, whatever. Like, it's their interesting conflict with each other is their conflict of ideas, of ideals. How they strive for justice. That's what makes their initial conflict interesting. And then they both realize, oh, we want the same thing. We're just different from each other in that way. And then they eventually become like really good friends. Like I love it when Clark and Bruce are interacting with each other in like Superman animated series or Batman animated series or in Justice League. It's so fucking great. It's awesome. There are so many wonderful and powerful moments between those characters that I can point to. Oh, you know what we're gonna do? Batman and Superman they should be kissing. No kiss. I love let me look this up as an example of what I would love to see. I would love Under the Red Hood. I think me too, Cabane. I think that'd be really cool to adapt that story. I think if I was James Gunn, and I'm not James Gunn, as you can tell. But if I was James Gunn, I would make the first Robin, or maybe if you want to even I would love to see Bruce and Dick's relationship. And maybe, all right, maybe Batman's been around for however many years now, but he's still, like, maybe he's in his 30s. I don't know. And he already had Dick Grayson. Like, he's been raising him since his early 20s, and he kind of fucked up maybe. But maybe Dick Grayson's already Nightwing. Well, they're going to do the Teen Titans. And I wouldn't be surprised if in that Teen Titans movie that Dick Grayson Robin becomes Nightwing by the end of the film. I think that would be kind of cool. But the Robin I would use would be Jason Todd. And Batman's like, I'm gonna do this better. And it doesn't go very well. Like, that would be cool. And you can do like the Red Hood storyline. I think that would be awesome. Then you can bring in Ra's al Ghul and everything. Like, ooh, I think that would be awesome.